Yo, what's good guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're reacting to UK versus US. I saw you guys like that UK video I posted, like, it's almost a week ago. That's crazy. Time runs. I don't know. I should try to like upload like what do you call it? Consistently. Yeah. I should try that. But yeah, if you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe and recommend me more videos to react to in the link in the description. I have like a Google Forms that you can like put video links to videos you want me to watch. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video, and yeah, let's watch.
And that US armed might is far greater than that of UK. But just for argument's sake and to learn what sort of limitations waging warfare across the ocean implies, this video will explore US invading the United Kingdom. So with just the airplanes and ships left to count on, is an invasion over the Atlantic viable?
Okay, not a bad argument.
В штаб-квартире Бенков.
Welcome to Binkov's HQ. You know, not many managed to invade Britain. Ones that did were the Vikings. And if you like Vikings, War of Clans might be the browser game you're looking for. Did you know that people...
Oh, it's a promotion. Let's skip. Okay, more promotion.
Successfully invade UK if it wanted to. Some rules will apply.
I think they
US
could.
gets no overseas bases, and all other countries are impassable.
What?
Distance from US to UK mainland is pretty big, especially when reaching London. Before trying to
That's
land
not
any troops,
fair.
the seas must first be clear of British ships, and Royal Air Force must be suppressed. US has a massive advantage when it comes to naval assets. Basically, all of its assets are made for oceans and could operate near UK if needed. While the Americans would need to sail to and from Britain, taking weeks away from their actual presence, US Navy could pretty much do whatever it pleases near the UK. It's interesting to point out that most of US ships do not carry anti-ship missiles. US Navy prefers to use their carriers for such missions. British Royal Navy is to go down a similar route. Their Harpoon missiles are old and set to be retired soon. Not all ships have them. Only a minor part of the British fleet.
You know, like North Korea, bro, they be just investing in the military. So I'm like, if it was a video like this, but with North Korea, because you know, I see, they said Britain has old ships that are about to retire, and like North Korea, bro, I be hearing like they starve their own people because like they don't care. Like it's just they care about the military more. So I'm just wondering, like, it's crazy. But like with the US has a big disadvantage when it comes to like traveling, because you're doing this like for 6 months just to get to the UK with everything, because they're gonna run out of oil, all that. These ships don't operate, I mean, but they'll have planes refilling it. It'll take time, it'll take a lot of time, but I'm still with the US on this one. It's like, it's not even close, bro. It's not even like, because like right now we're not talking about which country has better healthcare or any of that. No, it's about who's strong. And you know who's strong, like, come on, there's no arguing in this one. I'm just trying to see the numbers. But yeah,
has modern air defense systems. Basically, the sea war would be fought above the sea and under it, but the British lacked anti-ship missiles for its aircraft. Furthermore, British Tornado aircraft ceased to train for the anti-ship missions almost 2 decades ago. Basically, if UK had to try and do air raids against US fleet, it would be down to 2 weapons, laser-guided bombs and short-range tactical missiles. Brimstone in particular might be the weapon of choice. While its warhead is tiny, Brimstone 2 has a decent range. Still, against dozens of potent destroyers designed to deal with many anti-ship missiles at once, it's unlikely UK could do much. British best bet would be their submarines. They're fairly modern. Theoretically, the British could use their ballistic missile subs as attack subs as well, and speed up the entry into service of another astute sub, while keeping one Trafalgar running a bit longer, rummaging for retired sailors to crew it. Still, the British would be far
Bro,
outnumbered.
look at these numbers,
US
though.
submarine fleet
68 to 11.
Given a bit less time on station and British home advantage when
Yeah,
it
you
comes
guys
to
lost.
resupply, the balance of power may not be quite 6-1. Still, it's no question the British subs would get hunted down within months. Aerial anti-submarine platforms would also play a large role. And while the British could use all their assets, even just the deployable portion of US assets would be enough to force the British subs into hiding. Furthermore, US carrier-based air power would make it hard for British anti-sub helicopters to operate. The main force projection would be done by US carriers, naturally. US could choose whether to use more carriers initially and then have less available later on, or to maintain a smaller number on constant patrol.
Oh, wait, what? These two countries are in NATO. I don't know. I don't know how. Let me see. What would cause this to happen? Like, it's completely unrelated. I'm just wondering what would cause this to happen. Maybe, let's see. I don't know what could cause this to happen. But honestly, anything could happen. I never really was into, like, I'm not a fan of, like, military stuff. So, like, when that Ukraine and Russia stuff happened, I never really saw that. Probably because I'm not into the military. But, stuff like that. But yeah, it'd be. I'm not really a war enjoyer. I'm not that kind of person. But stuff like this does interest me sometimes. But as you can see, UK is, fighting a losing battle. Like, you're gonna lose anyways. But yeah, I mean, congrats for trying. Yeah, you guys can argue in the comments whatever you want to say, but like you can see, I don't even have to say this. The facts, the stats are there, bro. Yeah, UK is just weak compared to the US. But like, you don't expect them to play fair, obviously. Like, UK's got some allies around there. Be like, yo, come on, bro, jump in. Like, come in the war and help us. They don't care if they're fighting obviously, they would use some, underhand methods. I would too, bro, because I'd be mad if I was fighting the US and, like, I'm trying to play it fair. You're going to lose if you don't cheat. Gotta cheat, bro. Gotta do something. See, I'd be a good commander in the army if I was into this kind of stuff.
To defeat the British Air Force, the former is more likely. US nominally has 11 carriers, but only 9 air wings. It does have an additional support wing, which is a lot bigger.
Yeah, keep in mind, these guys are smart. They're not
wings after some
dumb.
Months of preparation.
It's not like quality or
aren't
quantity.
the only issue.
These guys got all of it.
The lifespan of a carrier necessarily involves lengthy maintenance periods. Important to note is that the deployable period doesn't mean the carrier can actually be on a mission the whole time. Usually 1 or 2 deployments are made during those 18 months. Missions are usually 6 to 8 months long, and several months are needed to prep the carrier and its wing for another mission. Shorter missions might give more deployments in the short term, but in the long term they would require even more maintenance for every month spent out at sea. Because of all that, it's unrealistic US would send out more than 6 carriers at once, after a few months of prep time. Similar issues would affect the aviation assault ships. Perhaps 4 to 6 could be deployed at once, after some preparations. Grand total of combat planes US Navy and Marine Corps could muster in a few months long air campaign is thus smaller than the total number of US planes. US might fly in fresh planes to replace ones that got lost. Flying them over the ocean to a carrier would be doable. What could the British respond with? Royal Air Force is smaller than even the readily available US planes deployed on carriers. Another huge issue for the British would be their lack of air defenses. Everything they currently have are fairly low altitude systems, meaning the US would be free to bomb them from high up with guided weapons. UK would also suffer the US cruise missile barrage. While the Brits have some such missiles of their own, it's unlikely they would be used against the faraway US bases. Even the subs that could carry them would be better utilized for defense of the homeland. While not all could be launched at once, US could sustain the effort. The British Air Force would be mostly paralyzed on the ground. US has also a much bigger recon platform fleet, especially when it comes to satellites.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, I just be wondering, like, what are, like, you're, let's say, a prime minister, you're like the UK prime minister, you're fighting a battle like this, you're losing, like, because, you know, I'd be mad too if I was losing. I don't know, like, and, you know, he's not going to be like, yo, bro, let's commit suicide and just throw all what we got at them. You know, like, you know, this, like, all this fairness in war, I feel like it's all, like, just talk. It's all just small talk. Because I feel like if you're losing that bad and you have a nuke and you're like, man, I should use this. Like, I could win if I just use this. But I don't know. That's a dumb idea, though. If you nuke near where you live, you're all dying, obviously. But if it was like, if they were far enough so that the nuke could reach them and the UK would be safe, I don't see why. You'd be like, bro, just nuke them, man. We're going to take the consequences later. But then that just means, oh, that would be bad. That would be really bad. That just means the US is also going to nuke the UK. Then it start a world war. That's kind of how I see it. Maybe I'm just chatting, but it is what it is.
As in the real world, they timeshare some US spy satellites. US aircraft would be looking for targets as well. Britain would have no real means of scouting the US bases. US AWACS-type planes would be plentiful, while British ones would mostly be trapped on the ground, with runways and highways being mostly inoperative. Thus the Royal Air Force would slowly get destroyed on the ground. When they would be able to get some planes airborne, they still may not choose to engage the Americans, as it's likely US attack waves would be made of close to 100 planes with possibly as many fighters as Britain would muster per each local interception, or more.
Where are the people at? The people are dying.
Would be a roughly equal kill ratio in the air. And when the losses on the ground are included, over months of a protracted bombing campaign, US would still be left with a sizable force. All this didn't even include the US Air Force. While the scenario requires it to use the bases inside the US, Britain could be reached. At first, bombers would be deploying cruise missiles, but later on they would be likely used for bombing missions. But could the Air Force tactical plane fleet help out as well? With very ample in-flight refueling, the answer is yes. US operates the world's biggest air tanker fleet. The Hercules-based tankers, however, are too small and would use most of the fuel just to get near Britain. Still, the remainder of the fleet has a substantial fuel offload capacity, and tankers could refuel each other. Such ops may sound complex, but compared to what the British did in Falklands War, they're fairly basic. The British used a dozen tankers to refuel themselves repeatedly, keeping the bomber refueled throughout all of the route. While all of the tanker fleet would not be available due to maintenance, the rest could still offload significant fuel loads just outside Britain if needed. With several refuelings per plane, US Air Force could still expect to have around 400 combat planes in action practically every day.
You know, at this point, basically all I'm hearing is, like, it's suicide, bro. Like, if you know you're gonna lose, like a battle like this, you know, the UK would lose, obviously. Bro, I don't know. I'm not the type to surrender early, though. But it's pride, man. I hate pride. I mean, not pride. Is it pride? Or, I mean, you don't want to lose, obviously. Losing is just like, just a bad mark. Like, no one wants to tuck their tail and hide when it comes to a war like this, because all the other countries would be like, damn, yeah, UK is just some dogs that ran and hid their tails. Yeah, I mean, I guess fight, I guess. I don't know. When you're put in this position, like, that's crazy. I'd be mad too, honestly. Whew, hopefully this doesn't happen.
The British would really have no chance in the air. Within months, the US would have complete control of the air. And thus the second phase of the invasion might commence. By that time, British ships would be mostly dead, even if they hugged the shores and just aided in the air defenses. British submarines might hold out a bit longer, if not being used to actively hunt down US ships. But even if British subs managed to kill 2 US vessels for each of their own, final result would be the end of the Royal Navy. So at around 6 months or so into the war, the landings would be mostly unopposed, except for the Royal Army defending the shores. 6 months would be enough for US to assemble pretty much all of their active and reserve assets. In addition to landing ships, US could count on numerous cargo assets of its Sea Lift Command and Reserve Fleet in case a port is secured. US Airborne could also help, with the numbers shown probably growing with newly trained paratroopers. Getting additional heavier equipment for them, however, would not be likely, given the time limit. US transport plane fleet is pretty big, and should be able to drop all the airborne troops within days. US could be looking at close to 30,000 troops during the first day, and close to 20,000 more the day after. Subsequent days would see fewer and fewer troops being added, and more supplies being brought in.
This is just despair,
more soldiers than shown
it's
before.
Like a human
the
stepping on an ant.
Covers only the soldiers receiving some training periodically, and soldiers for whom some heavy equipment is stored. In an event of a total war, Britain would be using those 6 months to mobilize as many soldiers as possible. While they would be equipped with basically just rifles, and while their training would be less than adequate, they would still boost the overall numbers several times. Yet all those soldiers may not be enough, as UK has a problem of geography. Its landmass is just too large. Its coastline is very long. Even when taking just the western part of its coastline into account, the area to be defended is huge. And what about the islands? Perfect for US to take and entrench themselves at, before launching further landings from them. Most of those areas are sufficiently far away from the mainland that British artillery would not be much of a factor. And what about Northern Ireland? There are just too many places for US to concentrate its assault on.
Poor Ireland.
The British would not be able to move their fort.
Ireland, though not Northern, but the actual Ireland. Yeah. Oh, what the heck? What are they gonna do? Oh, they just got caught in the middle of the war. Yeah, poor them.
Around easily and protect those islands or the Northern Ireland. So the islands would fall one by one. Then either Northern Ireland would be taken or part of Great Britain would fall. Hard to traverse overland Scotland would be an obvious choice, though that would also slow down US breakthrough as well later on. Cornwall or Devon are also decent picks, as British defenders lack room to swoop down on the US beachhead from all directions. Though such areas would likely be more heavily populated by British military to begin with. Once the US manages to secure ports and airfields and brings in US Army reinforcements, it would be basically game over for the British. US would build up its helicopter force on the areas it has taken, which is considerable. While the British have a fleet of their own to help quickly distribute its forces where needed, their numbers are small. Both sides would of course be losing many helicopters, US to British low-level air defenses and British to US fighter cover, which would continuously be flying over the important areas. The British would have only a small part of shown inventory of heavy weapons present at any one point the US attacks. While US would also not be disembarking thousands of its Abrams tanks or 10,000 of other heavy combat vehicles, the overwhelming fire support coming from various directions would more than make up for it. Fire support from the ships may come in form of MLR units firing from the ships rather than actual gun barrage. US ships still lack long-range gun rounds. Attack helicopters are another way of concentrating force in one area quickly, but again the British are far outmatched, even if just half of US numbers are present.
I mean, I saw this when the video started.
It's really not as the scenario asks what can be achieved within 1 year, US would be under pressure to progress from their multiple beachheads. Northern Ireland...
Bro, I kind of hate the fact that war takes super long to end. Like, this Ukraine stuff is still going. Like, when did it start? Like, 5 months? Was it 5 months ago? 6 months ago? I don't know when it started, but like it's been too long. Like, just I don't know when it's gonna end. See, it goes on forever, bro. Like, I don't even know how to say this, cause I mean, not forever till one person loses, but
is likely to fall within the 1-year time limit, but only minor parts of the Great Britain would be overrun by the Americans during the same time period. The British would put up a hell of a fight. Ground troop loss ratio would favor the British somewhat, but when Air Force and Navy losses are added in, where Britain would suffer more heavily, the US would come out fine. With added large chunks of conquered territory, the US could call itself a victor. Big thanks goes to all my patrons on Patreon.
Well, that's the end of the video. It was visible. UK lost. Hey, but at least they tried, you know. I guess they get a cookie for trying too. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you and have a nice day.